have much to give to you, but what I got is awfully true. Oh yes, sirree. Yes, sirree.
The Fallacy of Opposition. Welcome to General Strike News and Commentary. I'm General Strike. Tonight I'd like to talk about the fallacy of opposition of the Democratic Party. Donnie Tiny Hands Trump won the election. His cabinet is shaping up to who's who of billionaire elites, deregulating shills, and warmongers. Judging by the way his administration is shaping up, we'll soon have private schools, no FCC or net neutrality, massive deregulation, and perhaps a new war with Iran. These are all major concerns I'm avoiding to talk about the Democratic Party and the fallacy of opposition they provide for the rich masters. To give context to this issue, I have to give you a brief history of America so you can understand how and why the Democratic Party shifted. Once upon a time in America, we had a labor shortage. This shortage provided us with the American dream, which was consistently increasing wages with productivity. During this shortage, the union labor movement was strong and provided workers a strong influence in government and on the job. The Democrats relied heavily on this voting bloc for their support. Oftentimes, families were able to provide a good living with one parent working a good job, usually with a pension. As this shortage came to an end, things began to change. Around the 70s, this all began to change. While the wealthy elites worked to undermine the New Deal, the working class began to change. These elites attacked the socialists and communists who started the labor movement because they were easy targets. Next, they focused on dismantling unions altogether. As they became successful at killing the New Deal, unions and their influence declined. Taxes were cut and shifted onto the working class. Both parents had to join the workforce. Pensions vanished. A new borrowing economy was created. Wages stopped rising with productivity. Higher education became a for-profit industry, and our debt as a nation began to skyrocket. Don't forget, we still get the money from the people who have it. Instead of taxing them, we borrow it now, causing our national debt to skyrocket as they make out like bandits. This subversion of the New Deal, which ended the labor shortage, is one reason the Democratic Party no longer represents the working class. In 1985, the Democratic Leadership Council was created, and they hailed Bill Clinton as proof that third-way politics were a success. Remember, the wealthy elites who have been working for decades to kill the New Deal know there's one way the people can stop their agenda. They know we all get to vote. So they worked for decades, buying all the senators, the Congress, high courts, all the state houses, city councils, and the president. This is their insurance policy against us voting to change the system that keeps funneling all the money to the top. The Democratic Party was on the shopping list, and the DLC provided excellent cover for the big money takeover. The Democratic Party saw what was going on and how labor, which used to be their backbone of support, was fading away. They all bent their knees and turned themselves over to the wealthy elites. As I said before, both parties are nothing but organizations to gather voting blocks to keep the people on the path the elites want. While the Democratic Party still talks about labor and working class issues, it's nothing but empty promises and lip service. The Republican Party is a wholly owned subsidiary of these elites. How any working class person is fooled into thinking the GOP works in their interest is a testament to the success of propaganda. As they ushered in the DLC, they made a deal with the devil that has transformed the party into the establishment shills we know today. Keeping this brief history in mind, it should be no surprise to anyone when the Democrats refuse to stand up against the GOP or stand up for the working class. They're all paid by the same people who own the Republican Party. Oftentimes I hear working class people who still have faith in the Democratic Party complain they are weak and the Republicans are strong. This is not true. The weakness they are complaining about is really obedience to their masters. It's a great good cop, bad cop show they put on for us. The Democrats can pretend they are for the working class at the same time they yield to their master's interests as they play the good cop. The reason they do this is to keep up the guise they still support the working class in order to retain their votes. Once everyone figures out both parties are owned and operated by the same interests, they will look outside the two parties for representation. The two-party duopoly uses every mechanism at its disposal to prevent that from happening. Aided by the owners and their powerful propaganda, it's near impossible for the public to break from these two dictators. If you support the Democratic Party, consider this. Some of the most destructive changes in government have been put into law by the Democratic Party. Under their good cop ruse, we have the following changes. Massive deregulating of the financial industry, causing the last crash. Job-killing trade agreements that outsource our jobs, exploding the prison population by expanding the war on drugs, punitive welfare reform, media consolidation with the Telecommunications Act, the Patriot Act, the NDAA that allows indefinite detention without charge, making the Bush tax cuts permanent, giving us the Heritage Foundation's health care law, Obamacare, written for and by the pharmaceutical insurance and insurance industry, a doubling down on the war on terror, and expanded the national security state. They continue with the intervention into the Middle East to secure fossil fuel interests for multinational corporations and not for the security of the United States. This is what the new neoliberal agenda is working towards in the Democratic Party. One silver lining with the recent nationwide losses by the Democratic Party is a chance for the grassroots to take over the party and steer it in a new direction. The establishment elites are going to use every tool at their disposal to retain control over this party. Now is the time to get involved from the county level and take it over. If we could mount a nationwide campaign by the grassroots to infiltrate and take control of the Democratic Party for the working class, we may have a chance at a future that is not ruled by the economic policies of the elites. This would be a monumental task to accomplish. I do not see third parties as a viable option due to the duopoly control over our government. We need a massive network of grassroots activists to organize together and take the party over county by county, state by state. It could be achieved. I give the odds at slim to none, but it can be done if we ignore their propaganda machine and do it. Now that Trump is picking his administration from a group of rich billionaires and military junta, I think his supporters will eventually become disenfranchised and will look for people who will support the working class. Trump ran to the left of Clinton, fooling the working class into thinking he would drain the swamp and work for their benefit. He has picked two Goldman Sachs executives, Exxon CEO for Secretary of State, an anti-labor CEO for the Department of Labor, a Christian fundamentalist, private school advocate billionaire to run the Department of Education, a state attorney general who made a name for himself suing the EPA on behalf of the fossil fuel industry to lead the EPA, an advisory on the FCC who would like us to kill the FCC itself and dismantle net neutrality, and recently nominating Rick Perry as the leader of the Department of Energy, one of the departments he couldn't remember in the debate that he wanted to kill as part of the 3 departments he wanted to get rid of. Just to name a few alligators that he added to the swamp. It's my hope that A great working class awakening will happen in the USA. Once these elites begin the restructuring of our nation, the public may wake up and revolt. We're at war, and it's not a war on terror. It's a class war that has been waged on us for decades. The lines are closing in behind us, and the war is nearly over. It's time to stand up and take action. Thanks for watching General Strike News and Commentary.